Hello everyone, welcome to VIZAG IAS Academy, and in this video I'll be talking about Great Green Wall of China. I think we already know what about the Great Wall of China, which is the longest wall also. But do you know the second longest wall is actually in India, in Rajasthan. But anyways, here I'll be talking about the Great Green Wall of China. It simply means that China has taken a very ambitious project where China is going to plant billions and billions of trees. See, this is China, and in China we have two very great deserts. Here we have Gobi Desert and here we have Taklamakan Desert. So what is happening as a result of these deserts? There are very strong winds, and these strong winds actually drive lot of dust particles to the eastern part of India, and most of the populous cities in China are actually in the eastern part of China itself, including Beijing and other cities also. So because of these dust storms, which are extremely strong, these cities in China, they are facing pollution, problem of visibility, and these deserts are actually expanding also. The way Sahara Desert is expanding in Africa, here Taklamakan and Gobi deserts are spreading on the eastern part of China. So what China has done? China has taken a very ambitious project, and China is trying to make these deserts greener, and China is trying to surround these deserts by green belt. It simply means China is going to plant billions and billions of trees so that spread of these deserts can be contained. This is the primary project. Now, in 1960s and 70s, it was observed, and finally in 1978, Chinese government has taken this step. It's a very old project, it's not a new project. It is in news now because of the climate change issues, and we have such program in Africa also. But yes, in 1978, China started this project, and the deadline is 2050. So we can clearly understand that these kind of projects cannot be short term, they have to be long term obviously. Deadline is 2050. And in these years, China is going to basically plant billions of trees, and China is trying to transform these lakhs and lakhs of hectares as a green belt. So that is something that you need to know. So 1978 was the year, and end is 2050. In this time frame, China is trying to cover 4,800 kilometer area where it is going to plant new trees. So that is basically primary project. That is the primary objective, to have basically to contain the spread of these deserts. And upon that, if these deserts are getting greener, the local communities, the farmers, they are also going to get some livelihood opportunities also. Their income levels can also be increased. And one more thing that you also need to understand, that more than 90% of Chinese population is actually living in the eastern side of China. Vast part of the western part of China, including if you exclude Xinjiang, it is very sparsely populated. Eastern part of China is heavily populated basically. So China also wants to transfer some population to these areas also, and for that they need to have some agriculture support. So that is why China is trying to do that. Now, last year there was this report that China has successfully covered Taklamakan. So China has successfully basically more than 3,500 kilometer area is already covered. That is the latest report, and now China is going to plant more trees and up to 2050. So that was something about it. Now, the techniques that China used for this. Look, later on in this video, I'll be telling about the India also. Should India take also such sort of projects, or there are some implications? Because on paper, these projects look very good. And we also think that we have Thar Desert, we have other semi-arid zones. Can India be helped because of these techniques? We'll talk about that also. But the techniques that China used, look, Gobi Desert and Taklamakan deserts, they have one of the largest sand dunes in the world. And when winds blow, these sand dunes actually basically they travel towards the east. So now what they have done, the techniques that they used, let's say this is a sand dune. This is sand dune. So what they have done, they have taken some sticks. It's like 1 feet long stick, and they try to put that stick in the sand. So they have these kind of strip patterns there, like this. And in middle of it, they will do the transplant, they will plant a tree. Now, That is one technique they used. Another technique that they used for the irrigation purpose. So in the initial phase, when solar power plants were not there, so they started using diesel engines in the initial phase. But now it has been changed. So that is something that they used. Problem is with this whole system, it looks very, very good on paper. But what is the challenge? Challenge is that in the initial phase, they did not study much about the local climatic conditions, soil conditions and whatever. The biggest problem is their monoculture. Monoculture. So obviously if you want to spread your forestation in a very short period of time, so you are going to choose the plants, they are growing very, very fast. Actually it also happened. Interestingly, in 1950s, forest area of China was even less than 10%. China did not have any forest at that point of time. But today, in 2026, it is around 25%. And largely thanks to these large-scale afforestation program. This is something that China has experienced. Here, India also needs these kind of projects. We'll talk about that also. But problem is, once China started this project, they basically focused majorly on poplar and eucalyptus trees, because these trees are very fast growing trees. So that is one problem, monoculture. It means monoculture kills the diversity. So obviously afforestation is good, whatever their object they were achieving, but they don't have any diversity. Thousands and thousands of acres of land, you will see only poplar and eucalyptus tree. Now, these areas are already arid zones. It means they already lack water. They don't have much groundwater. Now, plants need water also. So, what has been observed in some areas, in these areas, groundwater has depleted drastically. So, already they had less groundwater. Now, their groundwater has gone further down. So, that water scarcity, another problem that has been created here. Water scarcity. Up to some extent it has been resolved now, up to some extent only, 10-20% you can say, because earlier what used to happen, we used to have diesel basically machines to drive them, but now they have lot of solar plants there. Solar plants. So in 1990s and later 2000s, even today also, in this area, China has basically installed hundreds and hundreds of large solar projects. And they cover thousands and thousands of acres of land. So what these solar projects do? They actually block the sunlight. They block the sunlight, and because of this, some moisture of soil can be preserved. Some only. I am not talking about that they are going to solve the whole problem. But because these solar plants are there, they can conserve some soil moisture. But largely, still studies are saying that water scarcity is a big problem that farmers are going to face there. That is one biggest challenge. Another challenge here was survival rate. Another challenge was survival rate, because these areas are arid areas, right? These areas are arid areas. So what happens? A plant don't only need carbon dioxide. Plant need to survive water. Plant needs nutrients also, decent amount of the moisture in the soil. Recent study says that in last 30 years, only 1 out of 10 plants are surviving. Only 10% of plants are surviving over a long period of time. 90% actually die. Because soil don't have moisture, groundwater is also not there. So survivability is another problem, and diversity is another problem. And because there is no diversity, so local flora and fauna, which was already there, they are either vanished or their population has declined drastically. That is another problem, that plants are not going to survive there. Another problem there is trade-off. What do we mean by trade-off? Trade-off means that once government is taking large-scale projects there, so there has to be compromise. Compromise between economic development and protection of nature. Protection of nature. It simply means, in order to have forest, in order to have large-scale afforestation, government cannot compromise with the economic status of the local communities. And because groundwater is declining, it is hampering the agricultural interest to the local population. Now, farmers have to choose what they want more. Do they want economic development or do they want to protect their basically afforestations? That is another problem. Because naturally, these Gobi Desert, Taklamakan, they are there for thousands and thousands of years, millions of years basically. So there is a local ecology there which has been disturbed now. So yes, there are some positive impact obviously. All over the world, if you see, the total forest area has been increased. In China also, forest area have been increased. And some studies are also suggesting that spread of desert is largely contained now. Taklamakan desert and Gobi deserts are not expanding now. Some studies have shown this also. So these are some of the positive impact. Negative impact is water scarcity, groundwater, and economic interest for the farmers also, and monoculture. That is a biggest problem. So what happened in 2000? Look, what is wrong with monoculture? If there is only one type of crop for thousands and thousands of acres, and let's say there is a disease, because there is no diversity, so this particular disease, it can be a bacteria or something else, virus, it will hit that particular crop. In 2000, it was observed. In 2000, more than 1 billion trees died because of a disease in poplar trees. More than 1 people died just because of a disease in 2000. So it highlighted the problem of monoculture. In order for the survival rate to be more, there has to be diversity of the local that vegetation it used to have thousands and thousands of years ago. So that is one problem with the monoculture. So there is always a risk. Now, can India do something like this? Can India do something like this? First of all, we need to understand the situation in India. Okay. Right now, what is happening? China and India are the two countries where it has been observed that greening efforts all over the world are taken in India and China. More than 25 to 30% greening all over the world is happening between India and China. But methods are different. In China, this greening is happening because of the man-made afforestation projects like green wall. In India, greening is happening because of the agriculture activities. And reason is because India is the population that we have is very huge. There is a huge demand of the food production and everything. So more and more area in India is actually brought inside the agriculture practices. We are basically trying to eliminate the natural vegetation and trying to bring that land into the agriculture practices. Yes, areas are greening, there is no doubt in that, but largely for the agriculture purpose. Now, can India do something? So first of all, we need to understand, does India need this large scale afforestation? That is the first question. Now you need to understand that, like if you take the part of Rajasthan, okay, which is a Thar desert, or if you take the part of central India, which lies in the rain shadow zone of the Western Ghat. These areas are arid and the semi-arid zones. They are arid and semi-arid zones. Or the Thar desert that we have, all the sand dunes also. So they don't have water availability, high temperature and whatever. The soil doesn't have moisture also. And these areas are also not suitable for the agriculture. Now, does India need this kind of afforestation project as China has? We can say yes, we can say no as well. First of all, we need to understand that around 50% of land in India is arable land. We can already practice agriculture there. This is how, basically we are grateful to the nature that we have more than 50% of land where we can actually grow our crops. But does India face that kind of problem that China was facing? Like Taklamakan and Gobi Desert as expansion of it? Answer is largely no. Look, we have Green India Mission. We have Green India Mission where we have allotted more than 900 crore rupees to this particular project. And up to 2030, India is planning to plant millions and millions of trees. Okay. So India is already having such projects. We also have a project called Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam. Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam. We have this project also. We have Mishmi project also for the mangroves as well. We have other such projects also, community-led projects also. So already India is having a lot of projects where we are focusing on the expanding our agriculture, this forest cover. And if we read about India's forest report, that we can also see that largely forest cover in India is increasing. Now, can we take such projects, Great Green Wall in India, something like this? Do we need such large projects? If we say no, look, you can go on the internet and read the articles also that Rajasthan desert or Thar desert is already getting greener. You will find such articles there. Thar desert is already getting greener. So do we need more greenery? Look, there is a difference between greenery and tree cover. Greenery can be grassland. Tree cover is basically a proper mature tree which stores lot of carbon dioxide that we also need, because in the Paris Agreement we have also a target of having lot of forestation. So what is happening in Rajasthan from 2000, or let's say you say in last more than 2 decades, in Rajasthan there is 64% increase in the rainfall. So monsoon is getting very erratic. So Rajasthan desert, Thar desert is already getting greener. Even agriculture practices, irrigation, electricity, we have Indira Gandhi Canal also. So over a period of time, Rajasthan is getting greener. Now, is it good or is it bad? In one case, you can say it is good. Because of agriculture practices, the income level of farmer is increasing, their standard of living is also increasing, economic activities are more now. But if we go by the ecological or geographical aspect, this is not good. Because if Rajasthan is hotter, it actually invites monsoon winds. Rajasthan is hot, so it means there is a low pressure, right? These low pressures are actually attracting the high pressure winds from the Indian Ocean. This is how monsoon arc is coming towards India. If Rajasthan gets much greener, so it is going to disturb or imbalance the local ecology. So the intensity of the monsoon wind can be decreased. Because of this, monsoon can get weaker and weaker in a long term. Right now monsoon is strong in this area, but in future, if we take such afforestation projects and if we plant millions and millions of trees by the human intervention, this Rajasthan can get colder, which is actually not good for the monsoon. So there can be reduced impact also. And if you plant a tree, so obviously it has a lot of, because these areas are very hot, so their photosynthesis can be little bit faster, but soil is not fertile. Soil is not fertile. It doesn't have much nutrients. Soil is dry also. So if you plant a tree in like say Thar desert or any arid zone, there should be a proper basically maintenance and proper, you can say, regulation also. So every few months or maybe every week you need to plant them, you need to give them water also, and you need to apply artificial fertilizer also. So it looks like that, look, it doesn't happen that you plant a tree and it will grow itself. No. It needs continuous human intervention over a long period of time, especially in those areas which are traditionally dry areas. So they need to be provided water, fertilizer, maintenance, and all sorts of things also. So as per experts, India does not need that large scale afforestation as China has taken. But India needs to make a balance basically. India needs to make a balance between economic choices that we have and ecological choices that we want to have. It simply means the existing forest that we have, India must protect them. This is where the problem lies. Because of the economic projects all over India, government is cutting already existing forest. These forests are existing there for thousands of years naturally, and they also store a lot of CO2. Problem is that government is not protecting the already existing forest. Government is expanding the agriculture land in the name of plantation. So, rather than taking afforestation projects like China has taken, what India should do, we should protect our existing forest, because India's dense forests are not dense as they used to be, because there is a lot of cutting in the plants. So we need to focus on two things. First, protect the existing plants and conserve. So protect and conserve the existing plant, and we also need to increase the quality of our forest. Quality of our forest. It simply means we need to focus on the, basically we don't need to cut them, and we don't need to replace our forest with the cropland, any sort of cropland. And there are other things also, like in case of India, especially when it's a degradation. Look, India is facing a problem of degradation more rather than desertification. Okay. Degradation means declining in the quality of the soil. The quality of soil is decreasing. But desertification is not that much a problem in India as such, especially when you talk about Thar Desert or in the central part of India. Central part of India is not as basically dry as Rajasthan, but it is still semi-arid because this lies in the rain shadow zone of the Western Ghats also. But yes, overall, if we conclude this, India need to make a balance. India does not need to take these kind of projects basically that China has taken. There can be a lot of ecological impact. And there are a lot of challenges also now, because these are very long-term plannings. China started it in 1978 and deadline is 2050. Can India take such large-scale projects on such a long period of time? That is another problem. In China, policies and funding is predictable. The government does not change there. But in India, government is changing all the time, right? Funding is one problem, and continuity of such projects is also a problem in India. So there are practical challenges, there are financial challenges, there are ecological challenges also. So in case we want to solve this problem, rather than focusing on the plantation on a large scale, it's better that we protect and conserve the existing forest, and we also need to improve the quality of India's forest itself. So that is the conclusion. Thank you.